happy travelers, welcome to our Alaskan cruise.
We are currently on a 7-day cruise sailing from Whittier down to Vancouver. The last 2 days we've spent exploring Glacier Bay and some other amazing glaciers around Southeast Alaska, and this morning we pulled into the port of Skagway.
Although cruising and seeing those glaciers was really fun, we didn't get an opportunity to get off the ship, so it's nice to be on solid ground. Well, this is the deck, but you know, whatever. We heard the thing to do in Skagway is to take the White Pass Yukon Railroad. So we splurged on this excursion through our cruise ship at Princess, and we are about to meet our group. Skagway's pretty, but it's cold in May. It's a little early for the Alaska season, but I think that's how we got such a good deal on this cruise. Very slowly. It's exhilarating.
So just as we got outside of town, they said that we were allowed to come outside. You can't cross from car to car, but you are allowed to come and stand out here and get a better view.
This is fun.
This is a narrow gauge railroad, meaning that the train tracks are only 3 feet across and the railroad ties are only 10 feet across. It's very narrow. And a couple of these sections along the cliff that we're traveling, like the rocks are really close. It is very, very narrow.
Oh my God. So I guess this was really challenging to build because they had to blast through the mountain basically. That was done in the late 1800s, so you can imagine the men up here just toiling away. So when you're bored, they give you this little pamphlet that gives you all kinds of information and also a map so you can kind of follow along and see all the historical points of interest, which I love because I'm a map person. We are about right here. Pretty soon we'll be going through a couple tunnels, which will be so exciting. We just heard there's a lot of waterfalls coming up on this side. We've reached White Pass Summit, which is our goal today, and then we turn around and we go back because otherwise we'd be crossing into Canada and we don't have our passports, so. Heading back down the mountain now, back to Skagway. Kevin and I spent most of our time outside behind the car just because the views were so much better, but it was really cold out there, so now we're inside. We are back in Skagway.
That tour was really fun. I had a great time. I really enjoyed it. The whole tour took about 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours, and it cost $150 per person. So it was a little steep, but the views were great.
You basically go from sea level up to almost 3,000 feet. It was 2,888 to be exact. So the train goes up to the summit of White Pass, which is a historic route. Even though the trains pick you up right at the cruise ships, they make 2 stops on the way back, and one of them is in downtown.
We have a couple hours before we have to be back on the ship, so we're gonna walk around the town of Skagway a little bit.
So Skagway is a common cruise stop in Southeast Alaska, but it's also famous for its association with the Klondike Gold Rush. They talk about a lot during the White Pass train ride. And there's also a National Historic Park, so it's part of the National Park System, and there are different visitor centers and historic things you can see here. Plus, the downtown is pretty darn cute, if you ask me.
We walked around town for a little bit before making our way to the Klondike Gold Rush National Historic Park, which is a free museum that you can tour in town, and it teaches you all about the miner's life and going over White Pass. And let me tell you, these people were pretty crazy. They went through some pretty crazy ordeals just to find gold.
Wild. Always like to learn a little bit of history to go along with our train ride. And as I grew up watching the movie White Fang, the beginning of that movie is about the Klondike Gold Rush. That's my point of reference as a 90s kid, just saying. Jack London, the author of White Fang and Call of the Wild, actually was a stampeder who went up there to look for gold in the Klondike, so
I didn't know that.
That's where he got his ideas from. Now we are heading into a Skagway staple, the Red Onion Saloon, which you have to go in if you're in Skagway. It was one of the first brothels in the town. Woo-woo.
So this place is totally cheesy and touristy, but it's kind of fun. They have really done it up on the old brothel vibes. We decided to get a couple drinks and, you know, a light snack. We're on the cruise, so we're eating a ton, obviously, but had to pop in and just kind of check it out. Right when we sat down at our table, they announced that they were doing brothel tours. So for $20, you can go back and do a brothel tour of like a historic brothel museum that's upstairs.
That was our friend Grace.
Yeah, and we ran into a friend Grace who we used to work with. If you don't know this about Kelly and I, we actually met working in Alaska 10 years ago. And ironically enough, it was working for Princess Cruise Lines at one of their wilderness lodges. Sure enough, we walk in here and the host is somebody that we used to serve with 10 years ago. How crazy is that? I mean, it's in the same state, but that was like, I don't know, 600 miles north or something. Like, yeah. Alaska's big. To run into somebody you used to work with, you know, north of Anchorage is crazy. We're gonna head back to the ship now, so that's gonna be it for this video.
Skagway is a really cute little gold rush town, and we really enjoyed the train ride. It's a little expensive at $150 a person, but I think I'd recommend it.
They say it's the most popular tour that you can do in Skagway, and I can see why. Be sure to check out the other videos that we've made in Alaska. We'll link a playlist in the description and put it on the screen right up here.
Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Until our next Alaska video, this is Kelly and Kevin from the Awkward Tourists. Peace out.
Car, but you are allowed to stand on the edge and look out the on the edge, edge on edge. Yep.
Up to the White Pass, which is a historic route that
Let's try that again. You got this. You hungry? Delicious.